Everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Robbie Craig of the Flip Flop Flipper, and today we're with my friend Mariah. She's got a YouTube channel, Mariah Monetize, which I follow. You guys should follow as well. And we're going to talk about the Bitcoin halving, and she started a new business since last we talked. So we're going to talk about all of that stuff, guys. So let's go.
Amazing.
Welcome back.
Thanks for having me. I had a really fun time last time.
Yeah.
And as always, I admire and respect your consistency with your content creation. It's a kind of consistency I wish for and hope to have one day.
Well, I hope that I get the results that you get. We were just talking about that before we started rolling. Is like a little frustrating. The growth comes slowly, right? Like I put out a lot of content, maybe too much. Maybe I do it too often. I don't know.
I don't think there's any such thing as too much.
Yeah.
And I was actually scrolling through your channel and I was just looking at your views and I'm like, this doesn't make sense. This content, this information for Puerto Rico specifically is so good that the views don't make sense. You have excellent thumbnails, excellent content, excellent guests. You're so enthusiastic, and I don't get it.
I invited you here today because we've had this thing called the halving.
Yes.
And we're a real estate channel, but we're investors, and I now have some money invested in Bitcoin and Ethereum and a few others. And this thing called the halving just happened.
Yes.
Like yesterday or the day before. And hopefully it's going to cause some things to just kind of moonshot. And so
that's what
you have a lot of experience with this. I think you've been through at least 2 cycles now.
Correct. I was around in 2016 and 2020. So this is actually my 3rd Bitcoin halving, which I didn't realize till you just brought it up.
Why is that important? I think it's important because these things go in cycles. And from watching your channel, you're constantly looking back to see what's going to happen next.
I use that sometimes, yes, as like a tool to see if I can predict, right? We're all trying to predict, doing our best. I'm not always correct, but I try. And yeah, Bitcoin typically has its top, 12 to, I think historically it's anywhere between 12 and 18 months after the halving. Okay. Is where Bitcoin typically tops. So I'm anticipating something similar in that range. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I think around that range is likely. Will this be a super cycle? I mean, we can only hope, but I kind of feel like it would take a black swan event for that to happen.
So how could you have a good black swan event that would skyrocket the blockchain stuff? Would that have to scare everybody into getting out of fiat? Or
yeah, I mean, it could be the dollar collapsing, which, I mean, we've had people, fearing us into that for years, that that's going to happen any day. I don't think that's really as likely. I think that's more of like 10 to 20 years of a potential. I don't really see it happening anytime soon, but you just never know what the black swan event could be. So that's why I'm always like, I'm going to be as invested as I can into Bitcoin. I'm not worried about the 20 to 30% pullbacks, because if you look historically, as Bitcoin runs up to its all-time high, pulling back 20 to 30%, 5 to 7 times during that time period is what, historically happens. So,
and for me as a real estate guy, and I'm pretty new in this blockchain stuff, when it first started to happen, it just freaked me the hell out. I was like, oh my God, I like to invest in stuff that I go to sleep at night, it's there. I wake up in the morning, it's there. It does have kind of ebbs and flows, but really only one time in my life has real estate had that kind of 30% or more pullback. Was back in 2008 with the banking crisis. But Bitcoin does that sort of regularly, right? So it scares the hell out of people.
My nervous system is like way too used to it.
Yeah.
Yes, I would say like Bitcoin was the first asset that I invested heavily into. And so it's probably not a good thing, but like that's my normal. And, anything that's like too stable is like a little bit boring for me.
Oh man.
And like I need the thrill and I need the excitement and I need the big pullbacks for the buying opportunities and the $10,000 moves in one day, or I guess I just am a little bit bored. So that's kind of like what my experience is there.
Yeah. So then now with the halving, I think from your channel you're all in again.
Correct.
And you're just going to ride it up. You're expecting that you'll have these pullbacks. Will you try to invest profits from your business along the way when there's a dip? Or?
Yeah, that's currently what I'm doing. Anytime I have a little bit of cash on the sidelines, I'm jumping back in, or I'm not jumping back in, but unloading that back into the market. And for me, I love being cash poor, and I enjoy being cash poor, and just although I know, Bitcoin's going to have these pullbacks, it's always nice to have some, dry powder on the sidelines to capture those. But for me, I mean, I actually think it's quite likely that we see Bitcoin get a little bit boring for the next few months.
Okay.
It kind of seems like the sell in May and go away sometimes also applies to Bitcoin. Like that's a common term in the stock market, which if people don't know, that means that not much really happens between, May and September. And so just, sell in May and go away, and then, come back in the fall.
Go have a good time in the summer.
Go enjoy your summer,
Yeah.
Because there's not really too many gains to be made. So, I mean, historically, if you look at Bitcoin, it kind of does the same thing after the halving, kind of trades within a zone for several months.
Yeah.
So I do think there's quite a few buying opportunities to come before Bitcoin takes off.
Yeah.
But for me, I do not enjoy being on the sidelines and having FOMO. That is the worst.
What you just said a few minutes ago is the way that I've lived my life forever. Cash poor, like asset rich, cash poor. As soon as I sell something and I make some money, actually, as I sell it or contract something, if it's real estate, I've already spent it in my mind.
Yes.
And it's like my business partner, my wife, my assistant, they know that when money comes into the account, they've got like a few days where they can pay bills and stuff, and Robbie's going to buy something next, right? Like I am constantly on to the next piece of real estate generally, but right now I'm taking the real estate profits and putting them in the blockchain stuff, and so hopefully I still have some time to kind of put more in there. I don't have a lot. It's less than 1% of our net worth, but I treat it like a savings account. The only thing that I've been good about doing is that I haven't sold it. I haven't panicked. When I panicked, I haven't panic sold. I have panicked a few
What do they
times.
call those? Golden hands or no?
Diamond
hands.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Wow. I can't believe I didn't get that right the first time.
So I've freaked out and then go online and watch you or watch someone who knows what they're doing and rely on some other people smarter than me and have stayed in it. So I had a couple years there where I was down like 80% in this blockchain stuff, and recently it got into the positive, and I didn't sell either.
Incredible.
I'm waiting. Yeah, it is incredible because sometimes, like for us, 20-30% in real estate's really good. Can you briefly tell us about the halving and how it works and what does it mean to the real estate audience maybe?
Totally. So the halving, every 4 years Bitcoin goes through a halving, and basically the number of Bitcoin mined every 10 minutes gets cut in half. So the previous halving went from 6.25 to 3.125. I think I have that right.
Okay.
And so what that means is that for miners, it just becomes more competitive. But we did see some interesting things that I actually didn't hear about going into the halving, but there was a Bitcoin block mined, and the reward. So the reward is that 3.125, but it cost the miners 30 Bitcoin to mine that.
Oh my.
And so, my friend was telling me about this, and we were anticipating, well, when I looked early this morning, right after the markets opened, I was anticipating some mining-based stocks to have a massive pullback, but that actually wasn't the case, which was surprising. So it might just be like a temporary thing that eventually kind of works itself out as time goes on. And so in another 4 years, in 2028, that 3.125 will then be cut in half once again. There's already about 19 million Bitcoin in circulation, so this whole mining process goes out until 2140. So we still have over 100 years left of Bitcoin mining, but the majority is already in circulation. So
and the stuff that's in circulation, some of it's been lost, a lot of it has just been stored away and isn't really for sale. So there's a ton of demand, and hopefully there's going to be more demand as it becomes more kind of every day.
Absolutely.
And less supply should mean that the price goes up.
Yeah, I've heard anywhere between 10 and 30% of Bitcoin lost forever.
Yeah.
And then Satoshi's wallet, I think, has like 1 million Bitcoin in it, and that hasn't really moved since the beginning. And I mean, El Salvador is leading when it comes to countries heavily investing in Bitcoin, which is incredible. And
Yeah.
I see that number to just increase over time. So I think there's I think there's around 50 million millionaires and only going to be 21 million Bitcoin. So not even
Wow.
enough Bitcoin for every millionaire to have just one.
Right.
So massive if you can get your hands on even just a few Satoshis.
So if you don't have any, get some, right? Like, what's it gonna
Absolutely.
hurt to get something, right? Open up a Coinbase account and get yourself some. It's not difficult. So that's exciting. I think it's exciting also for the island of Puerto Rico in that there is a community here. Like, the blockchain is really kind of prevalent. And before the last cycle sort of fell into, the bulls took control, there were a lot of Bitcoin millionaires that you're talking about that were here on the island, and then they just went through a couple of years of a downturn. What do you think an explosive cycle would do for the island of Puerto Rico, if you have an opinion on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are many people here. There's people that came specifically because of their Bitcoin investments. There's people that, if you're an entrepreneur and you have other businesses and you came here for that reason, you probably still have some Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it really just opens things up from an investment perspective. Like we talk about real estate, a lot of people in Bitcoin, they always look back, oh man, I wish I would have grabbed the top, pulled it out, got into some hard assets. The bear markets can absolutely get grueling. I must say that after experiencing 2 cycles, I still did not learn my lesson and pull money out and invest in a lot of hard assets.
But you did pull it out. I mean, you didn't ride it all the way down, I don't think, right?
I mean, some of my position, there was another portion of my position that I wanted to kind of play around with, which I probably regret doing. For the average person, though, when I reflect back on buying my first Bitcoins for $350 back in, I think it was 2015, if I would have just taken my initial investment, left it where it was, and not touched it since, I would be in much, much better shape.
I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. So, this whole back and forth, switching from, Bitcoin and Ethereum into a bunch of altcoins, I'm not in the altcoin game. I have maybe a couple $1,000s of random altcoins here and there, but that has just not been I decided several years ago to get rid of all of the altcoins and just go into Bitcoin. I'm really glad that I did that. People are still holding out hope, but if you look back at the previous cycle, a lot of XRP fans out there, XRP did not get anywhere near its previous all-time high the last cycle. Bitcoin hit a new all-time high. XRP was somewhere, I think, around 70 cents when its previous all-time high was almost $4. So the altcoins really have a hard time making up from those pullbacks when Bitcoin just kind of goes berserk. And obviously the ETF has really changed the game as well.
I mean, there's so much more demand now with these ETFs all around the world too, right? Didn't somewhere in Asia just launch a brand new one, a few days ago? So they're sucking up billions of dollars worth of coins, and we've had the halving. I don't understand how it doesn't have what you said maybe as a super cycle, but
it is possible. I mean, one thing I must say is that this time around, it feels like in the beginning, Bitcoin was just controlled by your retail investors. And it feels like retail has gotten completely eaten up. And the big winners are, the ETFs. The big guys. I see just not as much excitement and celebration on the retail side of things, because I think a lot of people just tried to sell, sold the wrong time, just didn't hold out, was, exchanging from one coin to the next that didn't outperform Bitcoin, and kind of feels like retail has lost most control of, it was this little guy movement in the beginning that was exciting because your normal everyday people were making millions overnight, which was really cool. But I think the little guys kind of lost the opportunity.
Do you think it's over for them? Or?
I mean, not for everyone, but it's just not what it was, 4-8 years ago.
Okay. Well, I hope that the little guy still has a
chance. I hope so
I think
too.
that's what is so cool about the blockchain is that the retail guy can find the next coin and invest in it and they do it. They're going to do it faster and way before actually the institutional people come into play. Like the institution, they're now in Bitcoin and Ethereum, but they're really not. They haven't bought the next.
Correct.
And if it's like any other market, what's great at the start, AOL, is going to lose eventually to, whatever, Yahoo, and then Yahoo loses to whatever the next one is, and then you end up with Google.
Yes.
Right? So that probably happens with the blockchain stuff as well over time.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way. I think that retail was really heavy into altcoins.
Were they?
And just a lot of altcoins haven't recovered.
Yeah.
So what tends to happen is people look at Bitcoin, they're overwhelmed, it's $60,000. Then they're like, oh, I'm going to go jump on this meme coin that I think is going to make me millions. All when Bitcoin is just gaining strength against that altcoin.
Right.
And so I think it's just worth it. You might not have one whole complete coin, but I'd rather have partial Bitcoin than like a bunch of random coins that likely just won't make it.
So you would advise anyone out there to put some money in Bitcoin and maybe Ethereum and a couple of the other tops, or just Bitcoin?
For me, I'm at about 80% Bitcoin and 20% Ethereum.
Mm-hmm.
I mostly held my Ethereum because during the upgrade, I locked up some of my Ethereum, so I couldn't even sell it if I wanted to, and I kind of did that on purpose to discipline myself a little bit. And so I think that yes, having partial Bitcoin is a better move than altcoins. I've been through several market cycles, and that is just reflecting of what I personally do.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, you can pick the right coin that goes up 50% in one day, but there are 10,000 coins plus at this point.
Yeah.
Selecting the right one, probably not. And it's usually these coin creators that are moving the market, and being on the right side of them isn't super likely.
Yeah.
Just because it's typically people that are not experienced investors, and knowing when to buy and sell is the most challenging thing. If it was easy, we'd all be rich. And so I think that, buying and holding, and if you can't handle the swings, just don't look. And look at Bitcoin is, in a sense, like a lottery ticket, in your back pocket that is way more likely going to make you money than your actual lottery tickets ever will.
That's a great point. You can invest like you're buying a lottery ticket every week and dollar cost average in, and just put it and don't think about it, and don't follow the stuff where it drops 40% and freak yourself out. Just hold on to it for 10 years and you're very likely going to be worth a ton more money. Like, had you just held the stuff at $350 that you bought 10 or 15 years ago, you'd be in really good shape right now.
Absolutely. And so I'm saying all those things because it would have put me in a better position. And I know a lot of other people in the same position. When I started investing in Bitcoin, I knew nothing. I saw Ethereum and I saw that it went down 50%. And I was like, well, people say, to buy low and sell high. When there's blood in
the streets, it's time to buy.
And I was like, well, this thing has crashed. Seems like a good idea. And I didn't really know what I was doing. I had no idea about, what Ethereum was capable of doing, what the use case was. I was very unaware.
Yeah.
But I just took a uneducated leap, and yeah, sure, I got lucky.
Yeah. But now you've done a lot of research too, so you've got a channel that you talk about this stuff. And if you guys don't know her channel, it's Mariah Monetize, and she's really good at this stuff. She does have a theory, and she'll tell you what it is, and it's fun to watch. So yeah, check out her channel for sure.
Thanks. Yeah, never financial advice, but I do my best to update on what I'm predicting is going to happen. Definitely not always right, but do my best to kind of just look at, historically what Bitcoin has done and make the best predictions I can.
Yeah. So let's jump into another subject, because you've got other businesses and some pretty fun stories and stuff. You recently started or shifted your car rental business into scooters. You want to tell us what's going on with your new business and how it's going? And
yes.
Yeah.
Scooter rental Puerto Rico. Oh my gosh, I'm so passionate about scooters. I bought my first scooter when I was 15 years old because my parents told me not to.
Oh.
It was a 50cc powder pink Schwinn scooter. And that was my first intro to scooters. And then I traveled all over the world, and everywhere I visited, I always got a scooter. And it just gave me ultimate freedom, and I just felt tremendous joy every time on a scooter. And, you know, it was really missing in Puerto Rico. Like, not just scooter rentals, but quality scooters with the ability to rent for multiple days.
Yeah. Nobody
here was really wanting to rent to people for multiple days, probably because of the theft issues, but I like to think I have that in check now. So, yeah, offering scooter rentals, 150 and 180cc gas scooters in Ocean Park, giving people the freedom to go anywhere.
What kind of range do they have?
So you can probably get 70 to 90 miles on a gallon.
And they can stop and fill up
exactly
anytime they want.
So I've had people that have circled the entire island on a scooter, which, you know, if you look at the forums on Google, people would advise against that all day long, which I totally disagree. And the response has been incredible. People are having the time of their lives.
That's cool.
What's amazing is that, you know, they return their scooter. They're like, this was the highlight of the trip. And so that's when I feel like I'm doing something right. And yeah, I'm just excited to, also transition into really helping people make the most of their time in Puerto Rico and just getting into more educational content around how to make the most of your time here and explore the beauty that Puerto Rico has to offer.
Yeah, and you were saying that you're very passionate about improving people's experience when they come to the island, and talk a little bit about that, because you could not plan your trip well and come here and be bored out of your mind, or with a little bit of forethought, you could get a scooter and circle the island and have the time of your life. So
absolutely. Although, you know, I do still rent cars. I feel like cars are very boring compared to scooters. And scooters are just an absolute blast. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to, expanding into more educational content, small things. Like, a lot of places are closed Monday through Wednesdays in Puerto Rico. So if you book your trip, like Monday through Thursday, you're going to miss out on a lot of things. And just planning a lot of things ahead of time, understanding the high season and the low season, and when you should be really booking those excursions way in advance. Because I am also that traveler that just shows up in a country and figures it out, but I feel like this is just not the place to do that.
Yeah, that's the way we travel too, my wife and I. We'll go somewhere and we don't have to have it all planned out, and we're pretty good at finding our way around. But I tend to agree with you. If you really want to get a lot out of the island, do a little research and come prepared. Come knowing what you want to do, right? Otherwise, you can end up sitting on the beach. I guess it's still nice, beautiful water, and the weather's not bad, right? So you can't really have a bad time, but you can have a better time if you plan it.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about, because you just said earlier that you've figured out how to stop the theft on the scooters, and I know that you've been working on that. Tell me some stories about recovering some stolen scooters.
So actually, this might be my next business, is documenting recovering stolen scooters.
Okay.
And I knew going into the scooter rental business that theft was going to be an issue, because when I first moved to Puerto Rico, the first thing I did was I bought a scooter, and after about a year and a half, it went missing. I walked outside one day and I just walked up and down the street and I was like, where did my scooter go? And I didn't have a GPS on it, so it was just gone forever. And so, yeah, I have I don't want to give all my secrets, but I do have a lot of things in place to prevent the theft or make it very easy to get my items back. And so, unfortunately, I've had to basically become the police, because the police are not always willing to help me get my things back, even if I show them an exact location of where it's at. So yeah, I've walked up into people's garages and said, well, this is mine, and I've rolled my scooters right out of there. And some people say that I'm lucky to be alive and that I should stop because it's way too dangerous, but it's actually really thrilling. And this just, correlates with all of I love the pullbacks. I love the up and down of the markets. I love the thrill of getting my stolen items back. And so yeah, at Scooter Rental Puerto Rico, we have everything you need to keep your scooter safe. If you follow our protocol, there should not be any issues. I quickly learned that I was kind of sort of in the scooter rental business, but more in the scooter theft prevention business.
Yeah.
And so there's no reason to be concerned when, riding a scooter here. I've already had 1,000 people rent scooters that have had the time of their lives, really enjoyed themselves, found it manageable to navigate the roads and the lack of functioning stoplights, and everything's been good.
And so you're still getting those calls every now and then. They've rented the scooter, they go to lunch, and they come out and the scooter's gone, and they call up and say, the scooter's gone, and you go get it for them.
It's typically overnight.
Overnight?
It's typically overnight when they park it on the street unchained.
Oh.
That's been the only time that one has gone missing.
So they rent a scooter and you give them a chain.
Oh, yeah. Everybody gets a chain.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I think the YouTube content could be awesome going into somebody's garage, you know, assuming you don't get shot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think it would be amazing. People love to watch repo shows.
Yes.
And so, you know, I think recovering the stolen scooters is possibly more entertaining. And the only thing is that I've gotten so much better at preventing the theft that
now you don't
I might have to stage some theft.
Oh, no.
Or just put a scooter out and, you know that it's going to get stolen. You know, one of the scooters that has like $2,000 in tickets on it that I'm not going to renew the Marbete anyways. If it doesn't get recovered, then I'm fine.
Okay. Yeah.
We were talking about the influence of social media, TikTok specifically, where people are making like a ton of travel decisions around TikTok. They are pretty much planning their trip through TikTok.
Okay.
And I even saw this. I had someone who rented a car a couple of years ago, and they posted about it in a very casual TikTok. Just briefly, you know, mentioned it, and I don't even think they showed an image of the car. And I got a tremendous amount of people that reached out. And not only did they reach out to try to rent a car, but they wanted to specifically mention, I heard about you on TikTok.
Really?
So I think there's like this excitement of people like, oh, I heard about you on TikTok. And I mean, when it comes to restaurants, accommodations, car rentals, excursions, all sorts of things, people are making a ton of decisions there.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's like in the 72%, I think, of people making the majority of their travel decisions through TikTok.
Wow.
And so I think just small tips in terms of like, you know, not just vocalizing what you're saying, but also putting text on the screen, because people love to screenshot and kind of, you know, plan their trip through that. So something that I really got to get on.
Well,
we all got to get on.
I think your recovery stuff will kill it on YouTube. Will kill it on TikTok. We use Instagram for some of the hotels and Airbnbs and things like that. I don't know what the percentage is, but I do know that influencers who are doing that, or like you, if you have a customer who does it and they just put it out there organically, that's powerful stuff for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We're going to have to try and do some more of that. Maybe we can collaborate on some of that stuff with like a guest house or something and a scooter.
Absolutely. Would love to do that.
Yeah. Put some content around it.
Yeah.
I'll be your bodyguard when you go. I'm kind of a adrenaline junkie too, so Don and I will go with you to recover a scooter sometime.
I need some camera guys.
Yeah.
I need like, you know, some bodyguards in the background. I need a driver. That's always the hard part, finding a driver.
Do you take a truck when you go so that you can?
No. Usually
you go in, you take the scooter, and you ride it off. You ride off on it.
I wish it was that easy. So this is what typically happens. I grab whoever I can, and for some reason, it's always a time when my employee is not there and I'm working by myself. So I got to call up a friend, and what happens is they're usually the driver, because I'm not going to make them do the dirty work, and then I jump out and I go and I recover it. But 80% of the time, the ignition has already been extracted from the scooter, and so there's no way to start it. So I am pushing that thing as fast as I can with my heart beating out of my chest to the nearest safe place, like a gas station or somewhere, and then I call a tow truck to come get me.
Oh, wow. So you don't even have a pickup truck, because you can
No,
just
but
wheel
I
them up
should.
onto a pickup truck and...
Yeah, I think I'm just going to get a flatbed trailer, small one, and then I could just roll it in there and then ride off into the sunset.
Have you had any big confrontation? Like people fighting you on it? No, it's mine. I stole it. No, it's mine.
Actually, no. I mean, I walked into this guy's garage once and he started moving his tools out of, he was like physically like tweaking with my scooter, and he physically started moving his tools out of the way to create a path for me to exit. So far, I've been so fortunate. There has been no resistance. And I think people are just like, why are they going to fight back for something that was never theirs to begin with?
Yeah.
So.
Well, it sounds exciting, but be careful.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of great businesses you can do in Puerto Rico, right? And it's just fun, right?
Totally.
We like to buy very distressed buildings and figure out what the highest and best use is. You've got to trying to figure out how to keep your scooters from being stolen business. Yeah. It's just a lot of fun here on the island of Puerto Rico.
No boring days.
No boring days. No. Well, listen, that was great. I really appreciate you coming in and the conversation. And let's do it again sometime soon. We'll definitely, if you want to go do a recovery, you can call us.
Okay.
Call me.
Excellent.
We'll try and help you with that.
Appreciate
I can
that.
drive. And, yeah, we've even got a pickup truck. So.
Super.
Yeah. You guys, thanks for watching. Give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done it. That's it.
Cheers. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Always a good time.
Thanks a lot. God bless.